Bee Chunder. It's an antibacterial marvel that can soothe sore throats and heal nasty cuts and ulcers. Oh, and it tastes like sticky golden joy. But in a beehive bombshell, claims today our honey is riddled with cheap substitutes. It's reported 12 out of 28 samples from selected brands made with local and imported honey failed an international purity test.
It's a disgrace. It disgusts me. It just blackens the beekeeping industry.
The industry will certainly be impacted by this sort of publicity, the sort of publicity that we don't want.
Despite disputing the claims, Aldi's decided to wrench the suspicious syrups from its shelves while it conducts an investigation. But the biggest brand affected, Capilano, is digging in. It reckons the fancy German test got confused by the unfamiliar Aussie flowers that our bees have been noshing on. The problem for Capilano, though, is that it's one of the brands whose product is a mixture of both local and imported honey. And while experts aren't worried about the honey made in Australia, they are sus on the imported stuff, with tests reportedly picking up rice syrup, beet syrup and other cheap crud.
The fact that those companies sell corn syrup to the general public, it's disgusting.
They may be doing it because those products would be cheaper than what honey is, so they're putting it in there to make their honey go further and also get money out of it.
So who's the culprit?
China!
One expert claims while Chinese beehive numbers have increased by 6.7% over the decade, honey exports have increased by 200% over the same period. If you like maths but dislike dodgy honey, then I reckon you'll hate those numbers.
Throughout the world there's been a big problem, but the current requirement is to test 5% of the honey that's imported into Australia on a random basis. We as an industry would like to see them test 100%. The actual cost for that, again, should be borne by the importer.
So while funny honey won't kill you, how can we be sure of what we're putting on our toast?
Any food packed after the 1st of July has to have the country of origin labelling, and that will show how much of Australian content's in it. So if it says 100% Australian, then you'll know that it's 100% Australian.
Well, he's right, of course. It's labelling's the answer, isn't it? You've got to actually have accurate labelling. We haven't had laws in this country for a long time where they actually tell you exactly what's in a product. They've tried to bring them in and no one abides by them.
Right, that's so concerning because my whole family gets a lot of those ones that have been, they're proven to just be a sweet sugar syrup.
Yeah.
And means the kids and what you're feeding them, they're not getting the benefits of honey, which is good
what
stuff
you're
in honey as well.
which is a
It's
natural
giving them a
product.
sweet syrup.
But that's why the labelling stuff on its own doesn't tear you up, because it doesn't say there's this much honey and then there's this much other stuff. It just says this proportion is Australian, and then the rest of it isn't.
Well, I guess
so
if you're prepared to pay a higher price, you'd only buy it if it's all produced 100% Australian.
So right now we can say if it's Australian, then you're on safer ground.
Yeah.
But the problem is, unless people have heard this story and tomorrow everyone's forgotten about it or whatever, then they'll just go
I'm
back
going to go home and look at my honey joe when I get home. I'd be really interested to see what's in it.
If you buy maple syrup, you can just buy the cheap stuff or the proper maple syrup.
Yeah.
And I found out today wasabi even. Most wasabi is just coloured radish.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah,
Karen.
it's not the real deal.
Well,
What's happened?
You've ruined my year now.
I know.
IGA has said that it meets all the requirements for the Australian New Zealand Food Code. That's a statement from them. So if you want to see statements from IGA, Aldi and Capilano on this topic, you can find them on our website.